Today, we're going to have a look at social media or digital marketing as a broad topic and how can you and your organization get your voice heard. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lenka. I'm a marketing strategist and trainer, and I've been working with Cambridge Online, Cambridge CBS for many years and helping them train their charities and organizations and helping them to navigate through the world of digital marketing. So a little bit of housekeeping. As I said, the session is being recorded. Sometimes I will skip or quickly rush through a couple of slides that are there mainly for your self-study. So you will get the slides and further resources afterwards, recommendations for further blog posts and videos and everything. As I said, type your questions in the chat. I have my wonderful assistants from CBS keeping an eye on the chat, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat as well. But if I said if there's anything that's not understandable in the moment, feel free to just jump in. And that's pretty much in the housekeeping. So we will go straight away of what are we hoping to achieve today. I'm hoping that you will get a deeper understanding of how marketing, especially digital marketing, truly works, how it will help you then to decide where you really should focus your efforts, to help you start creating a clearer marketing plan that will help you deliver on those specific goals that you might have. And hopefully it will help you get most from your limited resources. And in a way, I really hope that it will help you find a way to find more joy in marketing. Before I start with my slides and my speech, could you let me know in the chat below, what is your biggest marketing challenge? Where do you feel stuck with your digital marketing, social media marketing, online, offline marketing? We can take it very broadly, but could you let me know in the chat, what is right now your biggest marketing challenge? Where do you feel that you really might need some support, some help, some understanding? Let me know in the chat, please, so I have a bit of an overview to who am I talking with, what is your level of understanding, what is your hopes you're hoping to get from this training, so I can, if necessary, adjust it to your specific needs. I'm hoping that someone will talk to me today, that it's not going to be just me talking to myself the whole time. So thank you. Thank you for your comments, really appreciate it. Susan says using social media for recruitment, that's a very interesting. Sarah says getting pictures right, this is interesting also area. Coming up with ideas with mental health, so there's limits. Yes, about day-to-day work, absolutely understand that there are lots of red tape and lots of guidelines. Sarah says working out an engaging story. Elena says finding the best channels where to advertise. So I'm sure we'll cover some of those areas and we'll look at the broader picture, which hopefully will give you insight into your individual challenges. And at the same time, I will at the end share my personal contact details and my calendar bookings, and anyone can always then pick my brain and book a free half-an-hour session, so we can then go a lot more in detail to particular questions. Because obviously with training sessions like this, I'm trying to make it as general and as understanding as helpful to anyone, but I understand that there will be specific needs and the questions that you might have. So this might feel familiar, that you feel that you never have enough time for marketing, you really don't know what you're doing, you're trying to get the most out of your limited resources, you struggle showing up consistently, you're not sure how to interpret the results you're getting and how to improve on that. And that's very understandable, and lots of people will feel like this. I do feel like this often. Marketing is very fast-paced. It is always changing. It is often very frustrating, overwhelming. It feels noisy and pushy and icky. And I'm on a mission to bring some joy to your marketing, to help you see marketing as something that could be fun, that you could do your own way, that doesn't have to be overwhelming, that really allows you to focus and create some wonderful results for your organization without feeling like you're being stretched too thinly. And we do that by considering the full digital marketing ecosystem, by looking at all the marketing tools and approaches that are available out there that you could use to get the voice heard for your organization. It requires that multiple different tactics do work together as one, that you try to create an integrated system where website, social media, email, paid ads, PR, video, and anything else kind of fits into an overall plan, that you don't do just something on social media and then something else on your website and then something else maybe with some paid advertising and then you send an email. It works really nicely if you create kind of an ecosystem, a flywheel, a system where it all links together, because it is all nicely linked together. It is all connected. And in most cases, when it comes to digital marketing, the content will be at the center. Because on your website, you have content. If you're talking about SEO, search engine optimization for your website to be showing up on Google or any other search engine, that's done through content. Obviously, blogging and emails, they're based on content, video, and lead magnets on social media. Without content, you can't pretty much do anything. So we will spend a portion of this talk looking at content specifically. And there is a little bit of vocabulary, and it's one of the sections that I will skip. It is there for you if you feel like you need to get a better understanding of certain terminology, then you can go through it. And if at any point, even during this session, you feel like we might need to go back to this, we will. But I have included it in the slides just for you to be able to really get an understanding of what content marketing, web marketing, and SEO, email marketing, social media marketing, organic marketing is a specific term, and video marketing, as well as online advertising, what it means. But the point for us is really to look at how social media marketing works. And some of the biggest misconceptions that people often have about social media marketing is that it's free, that it's a quick win, that it's a silver bullet, that if you do just social media, you will succeed and you will get incredible results. And in marketing overall, that marketing is about you, meaning you as an organization. And this is something that I want to prove you wrong in a way, that social media unfortunately is not free, because it does require lots of your time and effort and energy and mental capacity and other resources. Social media, as I said, cannot survive without content, meaning you might need a writer, you might need someone who can create graphics, you might need someone who can create videos. So it definitely is not free. It's definitely not a quick win, even though, yes, you can put something on social media pretty much within a couple of seconds and it can get really good results. But to really get your voice heard, to reach the people you want to reach, to make an impact, it does require time, consistency, and effort to being put in. So it is not a quick win. I don't like seeing social media as a silver bullet where someone would do just social media and kind of forget about email marketing or website or blogging or PR and other tactics. And lots of organizations really want to leverage social media because it's free, because the reach is wonderful, because everyone is doing social media and it feels like you have to do social media. And part of the caveat is you don't have to do social media. Like, maybe not everyone is on social media, not everyone is using social media, not every organization needs social media. There are other ways, other tactics, other distribution channels that you might be considering instead of it. And as I said, marketing, or social media marketing specifically, is not about you. No one is joining social media to be sold to. No one is joining social media to only see advertising, to see companies boasting about themselves. No one wants to see that. People are joining social media. They're logging into their Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram accounts to be entertained, to feel connected with their peers and like-minded people, to learn, to get up to date with news, but they're not going there to just see a wall of self-promotion and bragging. So that's something to keep in mind. And one of the things I kind of touched on is that you don't want to build your whole house fully on a rented land. meaning you don't want to put all your eggs into the social media basket, especially with platforms like Instagram, where right now there is an influx of issues with accounts being hacked, with people getting scammed so frequently, with the rules from Instagram being very not helpful, the management and everything. So you don't want to be focusing purely on one place, and you don't want to be focusing purely on social media. It's where website and email marketing are two tactics that very much go hand in hand, but are super helpful. And it's something that you do own and you have a lot more control over. And part of it is that social media algorithms were not made for you. They were not designed for the creators, for the organizations to get their content seen. That's kind of a nice byproduct of social media, but social media algorithms and how each and every one of those platforms work is designed to make money. It's designed to game the system in a way that the highest number of people stays for the highest number of time, so then they can show them the biggest volume of advertising that people, companies have paid for. And the fact that your content somehow gets seen in between is just a byproduct, but it's not designed for you to really get your content seen. It's designed to use you, your creativity, your time and effort for those big companies to make money. It's a bleak reality, but it's something important to keep in mind when we consider which platforms to go to and how much time and effort we really need to put into our marketing to make it work. So I would say consider where you have more control and security to make sure that the time and effort and the way you invest your limited resources, that it's actually building something long-term that gives you the stability and security that it is worth, and that there is obviously never ever anything will be completely safe and unprotected, but there are places where you can really consider to have more control. And that kind of means that from the things we looked at and we kind of touched on, you want to be looking at creating a balance between earned, paid, owned, and shared media. That means that the owned are the ones that you do own. You are fully in control of it, which is your website, your blog, the content you put out there, your email newsletter. If you create any physical marketing, if you create brochures, if you create ebooks, if you create any videos that you then share on your website or through your email, that's something that you own. Social media is something that you earn, that you get shared. So it's something that it's not necessarily owned by you. You use the shared platforms. And it's wonderful because then obviously you can use the referrals and word of mouth to expose your message to more and more people and to really amplify the message like that. Earned media is often looking more at the traditional PR, media relations, blogger, influencer relations, where you earn the goodwill, you earn the marketing. Someone creates a blog post about you, someone mentions you in their post, you do get covered in news story. It's something that you have earned. It's different from what you paid. Obviously, paid advertising, paid media means that you have actually spent money on the advertising, be it Facebook ads, be it any kind of pay-per-click banner ads on random websites, be it Google AdWords. And you want to be looking at a balance. You, by default, will be creating the owned media, will be creating something on your website, on your blog. But then how are you going to get it seen by more people? And you will be looking at a combination of shared, earned, and paid media over there. And as I said, it kind of fits nicely together with content being at the center, and content could be written and podcast and a video and anything. That's usually fed onto the website, where you then also want to optimize it for the search engines. So you want to make sure that the content is written and optimized and technically set up in the way that it then gives your website, your pages, the best chance to show up when people do search on Google. The content is also something like lead magnets. that allow you to grow your email list, that allow you to create an asset, a business asset of subscribers, that again, you can then repurpose all the content from your website and from your lead magnets onto your emails. And that's where then everything can be used and distributed through social media, both organic and paid. It is all connected, but you don't have to do it all. You don't have to tick all those boxes. You don't have to be on all places. You can focus and start building your marketing plan, your marketing strategy, your communications step by step, one part at a time. Well, where do you start? I would suggest you will start by mapping a roadmap. For me, a roadmap always starts from knowing where you are right now, to doing an audit to understand what is the starting position. What do we already have? Is it working? What results are we getting? How much time, money, efforts we're investing? The second question is goals. Where do we want to go? So what do we want to achieve? Are we achieving it now? How far off are we with achieving it? And what do we need to do then to get from where we are right now to where we want to go? And that's your action plan. That's then deciding how far you're going and how fast you want to get there, what resources you have available, and potentially what resources you might need to include, you might need to look for, be it human resources, some skills, actual financial resources, make some time available. And once you have an overview of a plan, you want to make sure that you know how you will monitor, measure, and analyze your progress. On this note, with the measurements and analytics, I did run a special session that looks at digital marketing analytics on social media, Google Analytics and everything for Cambridge Online a while ago. And in the follow-up resources, I will include a link. So if you've missed that, and if you're not sure how the whole monitoring, measuring, and analytics works, and I would highly recommend you have a look at that. And we talk a little bit more about goal setting there as well. The simple thing with marketing audit is that you want to check all points of entry, all your digital touch points. You want to make a list of your website, your social media channels, your email list, your video, anything and everything, your events, if you're having events, or any physical marketing materials that you have. And you want to see how frequently are you using them? What results are you getting? What are the top performing posts? What are the worst performing posts? What is the actual size of it? What amount of time and effort it requires, so you have a very clear understanding of where you're starting, because then that will help you to build your marketing strategy. And you can use, and I use a very simple formula for marketing strategy in 5 questions, where we start with looking at your goals to be clear what you want to achieve. We then look at who are the people that you want to work with, who are your customers, and what are the problems that you solve, who are the people that you really want your communication to be seen by. That then helps us to decide what content your prospects are, the people that you're trying to show up in front of, you're trying to help, you're trying to communicate with. What are they looking for? What do they want to consume? How can you help them make decisions? How can you make them know that you're the right organizations for them, to help them, to volunteer with them, anything? When you know who and what, that then helps you answer the question of where. So choosing the right channels and places to be online, specifically when it comes to social media, to know which platforms you should prioritize. When it comes to digital versus offline, again, is there a better place where to focus your efforts? And all of that put together and looking and considering your goals will give you an insight into when and how often, so your posting frequency and your required resources that you will need to be able to achieve that. If I should pick 2 parts of the marketing strategy that I believe are most important, it would be goals and audience. Goals, it's because they will inform your decisions about where to focus your efforts, the frequency and intensity of a campaign, so how much and how often you need to post and publish your content, what will be the necessary resources, and obviously whether or not what you're doing is the right thing to be doing, if it will bring you closer to what you're trying to achieve, your why, your purpose, the mission, the vision, the impact that you're trying to make in the world. Your goals are the key thing that helps you get there, to help you achieve anything that you've set to achieve. When it comes to marketing, the goals could be, for example, to increase brand awareness, to create high quality leads and acquire new customers, or help more people. In your case, it could be to get more volunteers, it could be to get more people if you have a crowdfunding campaign, to obviously reach your target of a crowdfunding campaign. It could be to increase web traffic and other web related indicators. As I said, if you look at the analytics video, it will go in depth into all the website, all the digital metrics that you should and could be looking, and where to find them and how to interpret them. Your goal could be to grow your mailing list and to improve how you deliver the messages, how easily accessible they are, what engagement you get from there. It can help to establish with industry recognition and authority, kind of the thought leadership if you want to be really known for something. It can help to boost brand engagement, meaning how many people do engage with your organization, online and offline. And in overall, it can help also, one of your goals can be to grow your audience or build a community. Talking about the audience, the second most important part in my experience is understanding your ideal clients, meaning the people, again, that you want to reach, you want to work with, you want to help, you want to be able for them to see your messages. Because knowing them really well helps you make good decisions about the platforms, channels, the individual marketing tactics. It will guide you on the right type and form of your content, making sure that you're using the right tone of voice, you're speaking their language, that whatever events, offerings, and promos you're considering, that it's all aligned and it's all about them. Because as I said earlier, marketing is not about you. And even though we're spending this time working on your marketing and helping you and your organization to really understand marketing better and get your voice heard, when it comes to delivering the marketing and executing the content of the marketing, it is not about you. It's not about what you want to say. It's not about what messages you have in your mind that people need to hear. It is about them. It is about what they need to hear. What are their problems? What are their challenges? What are their pain points? And what they struggle with, what they are look for, what they might not know necessarily that they look for, but what will help them. So it's really important to be clear on whom you're trying to reach and connect with online. And I would like to ask you this question. Could you let me know in the comments, how clear are you on whom you're trying to reach? How specific can you get with who are the people you want to connect with online? Please let me know in the comments so we can explore a little deeper how to really nail down this part of understanding the right audience, the right target customer, target persona. The language is quite varied about this one. I'll give you a second to think about it and to let me know in the chat. Yes, Suzanne says that not very clear. It would be great to try and create different personas for different groups. Absolutely. That's definitely a place to start, and one activity that every organization should invest a little bit more time to get better at seeing who are the groups, because yes, you will not have just one group, you will have multiple groups. but they might be quite varied and their needs and their preferences might be quite different. Hannah says, I don't think we're that clear. We have multiple audiences as well that we're trying to reach. Similar story. Yes, this is very similar. And it's very common that every organization, every business every brand will have multiple audiences. And that creates a little bit more of a complexity in how do you create the right content that will resonate with each and every one of them, and how they can kind of self-identify and find what they need from you in your content, in your messaging, in your communication. So, for example, your target audience could be the general public. You simply want everyone to know about you, what you do, who you are, how you help. Maybe you really want to target the people that you are helping, the people that your organization is designed to serve. There might be a middle person, third party in between you and the end user. It could be a caretaker, it could be parent, it could be school, it could be institutions. So there will be two different audiences, the people you're actually helping, and then the people who might be the decision maker. There might be the people taking care of it, people having information, having access. You might also have audiences that you're wanting for trustees, volunteers, people with funds, anyone who can provide any skills, recruitment of, again, staff and volunteers. And we can easily realize how different their needs, their preferences, their requirements, and what they will be looking for online in terms of content, how different it will be. So one of the questions to ask yourself and to be clear to create a persona or multiple personas is to know what are their challenges that you help them solve. So do you understand the individual pain points of your different target audience members? What bothers them? What matters to them? How well do you know your customers beyond the demographic? Often when we think about customer personas, creating and identifying these customer avatars, we think of demographics. We think age, we think gender, we think location, maybe level of education, maybe level of financial income, maybe whether or not they live in a city or they live a rural life, whether or not they have a car or commute by a public transport. But this is very much stereotypical demographical profiling. But what is even more important is understanding their psychographics, understanding them as human beings, and see what patterns you can notice in terms of their beliefs, their values, their opinions, their interests, their behaviors, and how can you look beyond the labels of demographic profile and get to know them better as individual human beings, and how would they be grouped together by their values, for example? What would they have in common? Because that will then help you see potentially where your prospects spend more time online. Some of them will be spending more time on Twitter because they're interested in news or they want this fast pace. If they're more interested in lifestyle stuff, in travel and holiday and leisure and makeup and beauty, they will be more likely on Instagram. And it doesn't matter that you as an organization are not a lifestyle brand, that you don't have a pretty product that you're selling that would be designed to really work well on Instagram. But it means that your audience, the people that you are trying to reach, are these type of people, which means that they will be very likely spending their time on certain platforms. So think about, where do your prospects spend more time online? Are they on social media? And we know still that even though social media seems so omnipresent, there are groups of people who are not on social media. There still will be people who will, because of the accessibility issues, because of their age, because of their location, because of the connectivity, or simply because of personal preferences and their life situations, they might not be on social media. And you might think of other alternative ways of reaching them. They might not be even possible to reach by digital marketing. They don't have email, they don't visit websites, they don't search on Google, they don't spend time anywhere to be able to see advertising or paid stuff. They might be people who still read newspaper, listen to radio, watch TV, go to their community center, look at the bulletin boards around there, read flyers in their mail. So not always digital is the silver bullet, but obviously we know that most people are on social media, most people are somewhere to be found online. But then do we know, do they read blogs or watch videos on YouTube or on TikTok or listen to podcasts or listen to radio? Do they subscribe to emails? Do they read newsletters, or do they prefer to consume content and stay up to date in a different way? Also important to know is, are you speaking their language? So are you using your jargon and acronyms and speaking in your own bubble, which, for example, with mental health, it's quite challenge often, because with mental health, not everyone who struggles with any kind of mental health issues might know or be aware of the certain labels. So then using certain labels like depression, anxiety, specific clinical labels that you as an organization might be aware of, that might not be the language that people use. People might just say, I'm tired, I feel fuzzy, I feel heavy pressure, I feel fog, I feel fatigue. So there might be different languages. So it's important to try to speak about people, their problems and their desires, their needs, their challenges in a simpler conversational tone of voice, language that is understandable to them. And you will find this out by not simply, but by getting obsessed with your audience. It's not as simple as it sounds, but you get it by really listening. Because when you know who your audience is and where they spend time online, you will also be able to see what they comment on, what language they use. If you meet them in person, again, you can ask them questions. You can figure out what would be more helpful to them, what would they really appreciate to be able to receive from you as information, be it on social media, be it through email, be it on your website, be it through any kind of resource materials that you can provide. So the answer then to the third question that we saw on the marketing planner, which was what type of content, what is the substance of then your communication? And I know that some of you have mentioned that you kind of don't know necessarily what to talk about when you're creating content. You don't know what topics to cover. You don't have any ideas about the struggle to find the right ideas. And really going deep into understanding your customers and their needs and their problems and their preferences and their values and their all the psychographical descriptions we talked about, it will help you then understand what content you need to create. So it will help you answer what are their needs and preferences. And once you know that, we can start looking more at where you should spend your time online. And again, I will go very quickly through the next couple of slides because it's something a little bit more suitable for your home study that you can do the research on your own term. But I wanted to give you an insight into the most common social media channels and places, and to see whether or not it could be suitable for you and right for your organization, depending again on who are the people that you're trying to reach. So we will start with Instagram. Is probably one of the fastest growing networks out there for the time being. It has over 1 billion people using it monthly. There is over 500 million stories used every day. The split between, if you look at the demographics, the genders, is pretty even, but it historically always was a little bit more of a feminine platform. It used to be a very young platform, meaning quite young audience spent a lot of time in there, but as time progresses, it is maturing and you will find even people over 30, 40, 50-year-old using Instagram in big numbers. It's quite interesting to know that over 60% of people become more interested in a brand or an organization or a product after they see it in stories. Instagram, it's on a practical level a lot less like driven, meaning that it's not about getting likes on your posts, but it is more about creating conversations through comments and direct messages. Instagram is one of those probably the hardest one to keep up with because they are launching incredible new features pretty much weekly. And it is sometimes a little overwhelming to know where and how to even start with this platform because it does force you to jump through quite a few hoops. And the algorithm is quite brutal to creators, again, abusing the creator to make more money. But it has a lot of potential. You can go live, you can create long form videos, you can create short form videos like reels, you can create guides, carousel posts, you can create direct group chats through stickers, you have lots of e-commerce and shopping features. If you're crowdfunding, if you run any fundraising, you have stickers designed for that. So it is a very interesting platform. But I will always put a caveat. It is very hard to keep up. It's quite overwhelming to a point, and it could be quite really time, effort, energy demanding platform to make a dent and really make it work for you. One odd one in the mix is Clubhouse that very much took off in 2020 when the pandemic has started as the first audio only platform where you could have just audio conversations with people. It still, even to this day and age, has over 10 million weekly active users, even though this data is from 2021. Whenever I check if Clubhouse is still active and alive, it is still an interesting place to be. So it is kind of still new and evolving kind of a platform, a quite niche, so maybe not necessarily applicable for anyone. But on the other hand, LinkedIn could be an interesting place for a lot of you. It does have enough monthly users and it has a decent split of any type of people, young, old, male, female, anyone most likely can be found on LinkedIn if they are a professional. Because LinkedIn is labeling themselves as a professional networking platform, which means that a lot of people will go there for the professional personal development, career development, volunteering, for marketing and promotion, those kind of reasons. It's interesting that 52% of buyers say that LinkedIn has the most influence on the research before they purchase. So obviously lots of customers, lots of people who decide to volunteer, who decide to become a trustee, who decide to spend money on causes, who decide if they're looking for help and they are on the professional level, that they're career-driven person and they are looking for some help. Then whatever, again, the purchase could mean lots of things. It could mean a conversion. It can mean working with someone, ask for help. Lots of the traffic, lots of the users use LinkedIn on mobile, which is pretty common these days. Most of the applications and most of the traffic everywhere will be done from our smartphones or tablets, which means to keep an eye and remember to make your content mobile friendly. There are lots of new slides by new features like LinkedIn Live, PDF slide sharing, polls, newsletters, also audio rooms. So similar to Clubhouse, LinkedIn and other platforms now include the option to create native LinkedIn events that are audio only. It does have high engagement on personal profiles. There is a big increase year on year in how much people do actually engage and comment and share and interact. When it comes to corporate pages, organizations, that's still a little bit more tricky because, as I said, LinkedIn is positioning itself as professional networking platform, which is cater towards individuals, human beings, rather than brands. Facebook, it's still the biggest and most active social media channel out there, but that obviously has its own drawbacks. There will be lots of people who have issues with Facebook and these days Meta as a company and who will be abandoning Facebook. But also overall, Facebook is a place where any kind of a demographic group will have a reasonable representation, except the young ones. If you're looking for the Gen Zs, then you will find them pretty much exclusively on TikTok, Instagram, and other more obscure specific platforms. But for certain audiences, Facebook still can be a very good one. Also, Facebook, in terms of Facebook groups, could be a great place to create community for the people you're helping, for your peers, for volunteers. If there's a group of audience that you're trying to create a community around, you're trying to enable them to intermingle, to build relationship and support each other, to create multi-dimensional conversations, then Facebook groups might be an interesting place for you to consider. And there is a huge usage of people coming to Facebook groups, using Facebook pretty much exclusively to send people messages through Messenger or contact and chat and stuff like that, or to then be part and participate and engage in specific groups. Facebook also is not stepping behind in terms of new features, and obviously they do have stories, they have paid events, they have hashtags, they have reels, they have it all. Maybe a little bit too much. They're trying to impress everyone and making it sometimes a little bit too crowded and too noisy. Twitter is an interesting platform. It hasn't been growing much in terms of the audience in the last couple of years, but since they have launched Twitter Spaces, which is their audio functionality, it definitely has seen an increase in activity. Their Twitter is way, way bigger in the US than it is anywhere else except Japan, but also you will see a lot of people spending time on Twitter here in the UK, around Europe. Interestingly, what's important to keep in mind that lots of people, especially kind of the middle generations, will use Twitter to access news. Younger generations like Gen Zs will use TikTok to get news, where millennials and Gen X and those might use Twitter to get their news. And people do go there to view photos, watch videos, share content, and network as well. So it might be an interesting place. It's very fast-paced, it's very intense. But the good thing about Twitter is that because of how it's set up around hashtags and trending topics, you don't have to have a big following to be able to get your message across. It's very easy to be discovered, to discover new content, to be shared, I don't want to say to go viral because that's something else, but to really be seen by people, the right kind of people. It's quite easy to accomplish that on Twitter with the usage of hashtags and tagging different people who then can help you spread the word. Another one of the platforms that might not necessarily be useful and suitable for everyone, but could be interesting depending on your audience, is Pinterest. It does have a good volume of monthly users. It is very much female-focused platform. Lots of people, lots of women use it to plan life moments. They plan it to when they are looking to get their ideal home, any kind of interior design, inform shopping and purchasing decisions. And they do work on more and more in-app shopping, improving advertising and stuff like that. The interesting thing about Pinterest is that people say that it's filled with positivity, which compared to places like Twitter, where definitely no one will say that Twitter is filled with positivity. It's interesting that if that kind of positive messaging and you want to touch on people considering and thinking their big life moments, or something that could be related to their ideal home, settling down, nesting, building their, house, building their environment, then Pinterest could be an interesting platform. It is a visually driven platform, so similarly to Instagram, where it is video first and photos required, or video or a photo required. Pinterest is the same. It is a visual platform, so every single update, every single post has to have a picture or a video attached, where in comparison, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, it's mainly words, so it's text-based. You can use media with it, but it's not required. But on platforms like Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok, media is required. Talking of TikTok, that's the platform that it's video only, so you have to create a video to be able to use TikTok. It is growing very fast, especially since the pandemic. It's been the #1 downloaded app of 2020, and it still grows very fast. It is, even though it is quite known to be the youngsters app, you definitely will find, especially since the pandemic, a lot more people of all sorts of ages on there with all sorts of different interests. There, people do spend a lot of time on the app. If you compare the amount of time people will spend on other platforms, TikTok definitely is winning. It's almost 15 minutes per day people spend on average. It is quite fast paced, even though TikTok is extending the videos from the original 15, 30, 60 seconds to now 3 minutes and considering even more. So you can create some longer form, let's say, content there as well, but it still is very fast paced. The editing, the level of creativity, the level of acting, the level of comedic storytelling kind of a skill is very high up. It is designed to cater for very creative people who have unique perspectives and who can write a script, who can use the editing feature. So it is not just lip syncing and dancing platforms, even though you will see a lot of those. There is a lot of stand-up, there's lots of education, lots of medical professionals use it quite well, lots of legal professionals use it quite well. There are charities and organizations who use it quite well to, again, educate and share information with the audience, especially if they're targeting the younger ones. You might be thinking, well, we could do a little bit of here and a little bit of there, and maybe we could do this. And even if you have multiple audiences, I would say pick which audience is the key #1 priority audience for you. And based on that, focus on one priority platform, because otherwise it will be overwhelming. It will be too much. You will be spreading yourself too thinly, and you will never get a proper understanding of how any one of these platforms works, especially since they often change and evolve, and the rules and algorithms do keep changing quite a bit. So focus on one priority, and only if and when you have mastered it, it is working well for you, you really have a smooth sailing process in there, and you still have more resources available, only then start looking for the second platform to really focus on as an addition. And when it comes to deciding which one and what type of content, yes, the key is to make sure that your audience or the people that you want to help are there, that you will be able to reach them on these platforms. You also want to play into your strengths. And I mean, someone might be absolutely incredible at talking to a camera, at acting, at writing scripts, bringing comedy, bringing jokes into any kind of conversation, and they might be very much suitable for the video TikTok reel kind of a format. Some people, some of you and your teams might be more skilled in written form. They might be poets and beautiful writers and storytellers, and they can create beautiful written pieces. Or you might be into design and you can create beautiful photos or graphics, and visuals and tell your stories and tell your information in a visual form. Or maybe you don't feel so much into the video, but you like the whole audio thing where it's more like a podcast, it's more like a radio. You can talk, people can hear you and connect with you through your voice and get a personal connection and touch like that. But you don't have necessarily the video element, which would be quite overwhelming for people. So maybe you want to consider audio formats. So part of the decision-making process to really figure out your own marketing strategy is to also consider what are your strengths and play into your strengths. Even though everyone will say you have to do video, you have to do this, you should be doing this, I really want to give you the permission to ignore all those shoulds, to ignore all what other people are saying you should be doing, kind of including me, even if something that I'm saying is not sitting right and you're like, well, we want to be doing something completely different. Kind of do that, like play into your strength. If you know that you have a strength that's something completely random and different and unique, and you really are passionate about it, I believe that you can have a lot more success with playing into your strengths than really trying to fit into what everyone else is doing and to what everyone else is kind of teaching you to do. Practically, when it then comes to social media marketing, there are two key areas of social media marketing or the overall organic marketing, and it is content and engagement. When it comes to engagement, we know that people buy from people they know, love, and trust. Or again, we can replace the word buy. They get asked and reach out for support. They volunteer and support financially. They interact with. They even just share and support online with organizations that they have shared values, that they feel like they know them and they know the people behind the brand, behind the organization. They are passionate about it. There is so much love for the cause and reason. And over time, they have been able to establish a trusting relationship. And you can do that by engaging with people first, which means spending time in your chosen platform to comment, to search for people, search for organizations, and comment on their posts, to read, interact, engage on their posts, and even better, take it further, send them a direct message and say thank you, say well done, start a meaningful conversation first. And once you start doing it proactively, you will see that more people will be finding you, more people will see you, they will interact with your content, and they will repay the favor. We will look at specifics of content creation in a second, but I wanted to put a caveat out there to never ever create content just for the sake of creating more content. So the point is to create strategic content, create well-planned, well-outlined content, create less, but create better content. In your content, in your engagement, in your marketing, solve their problems. Show up regularly to build trust, and that will help you to really be established, to help you to not only be remembered and noticed by the people, but because we do need to please the machines, we do need to please algorithms. Showing up regularly, having relevant, interesting, high quality content will help you to then play into what the algorithms are looking for, which means you will be able to get your content to more people, be more visible, get your voice heard. So I said we're going to look at what content you should create specifically. But before we go there, I have another question. And the question is, what content do you currently create? I mean, do you have a blog? Do you create blogs? Do you have a newsletter? Do you send regular emails? Do you have a podcast? Do you have a video? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you simply do social media posts? And when you do social media posts, what is it that you post about? Let me know in the chat, please. What content do you currently create? So we then can look at what else could you add into the mix, and how you can really create your own digital marketing ecosystem to make sure that what you create is the right thing and it really works for you. Hannah says sporadic social media posts, very common. I have a theory of being consistently inconsistent with social media posting, that obviously it depends on what are your goals and what you're really trying to achieve. But if you don't have any very high specific intensive goals for your campaigns on social media, that you don't need to drive X amount of traffic to your website, that you don't need X amount of people necessarily immediately interacting with you, then it's okay to be consistently inconsistent. What I mean is, as long as over a long period of time you do keep showing up, and you do keep showing up with quality content, and you do put effort into engaging people, building relationships, that even if you cannot maintain the recommended frequency, the recommended consistency, you can still grow. It's the whole theory of, well, the medical professions say that we should be exercising 5 times per week, I don't know, maybe for X amount of minutes, X amount of times for X amount of minutes. That's the golden rule, is the standard. But what if you cannot maintain that? You cannot maintain it ever, or you might not be able to maintain it for a couple of weeks. Does it matter? Does it mean that if you cannot do the exact recommended frequency, that you should not be doing anything? That instead of doing 5 times your exercise, doing it 3 times is wrong, or doing it once is wrong? So for me, the whole theory of being consistently inconsistent means, even if for the time being you can show up only once a week, show up once a week. If then you get into a better routine and you can show up twice a week, show up twice a week. If at the beginning all you can do is post once a month, then make sure that once a month you post something that is meaningful, interesting, and helpful. That again, if it's once a month, you try to make it as high quality as possible. But I wouldn't want anyone to be beating themselves up for not being consistent, because definitely consistency is the buzzword of social media. But I don't think it's necessary to be so rigid with that. A few more comments. If anyone else could let me know also what your content, what is the content you're creating, I would love to know a little bit more. So please let me know in the chat. Sarah said that at the moment it's just social media posts, that you're focusing on different areas of the work they deliver. It's in the process of starting email newsletter, which is wonderful. I do believe in the power of email marketing and in the power of our inbox, or our audience's inbox, because that's still one of the places that doesn't have an algorithm, that we people, we users, we consumers are in control of, who we allow into our inboxes, which gives permission to the brands, to the organizations that we signed up for, to really create something private, something personal, something meaningful, that we genuinely want to receive, and that we have a more of a chance seeing, because it comes into our inbox, rather than us having to go through tons of social media posts, feel the overwhelm and the noise of the social media posts. So I think that newsletter is a wonderful idea. And I think if you already have social media and you're thinking about doing an email, then going and having a blog that doesn't have to necessarily be such an extra resource, such an extra effort. If you already create social media posts, adding just tiny little bit more to your social media posts, if they're educational, if they share meaningful, insightful information, adding just a little bit to it can mean that you can create a new blog post. Blog post doesn't have to be 2,000 word long. The shortest blog post can have 300 characters. It can be a short paragraph. It can be pretty much a mini blog that's slightly longer than a tweet. But having it on your website again serves different audience, might be accessible to different people. You might be able to embed a video to add more visuals to it, to send people to a sign up to a newsletter. The same if you are planning to create a newsletter, the content that goes into your newsletter could be repurposed on your website, could be repurposed in a blog, could be, again, either taken only a part from the newsletter to be on a blog, or write a longer blog and take only a shorter part for the newsletter. So you can start thinking how what you already are creating and where you're creating it. If you then feel like adding a little bit more, you don't feel like you have the resources, you can feel how you can really repurpose what you already have to those different platforms, different channels, different ways to really maximize the effort you're already putting into the content that you are already creating. So there are a couple of typical social media content pillars that you should be considering when planning your social media calendar or any kind of content calendar. The content is educational content, it's engaging content, it's content that entertains and inspires, and it's content that encourages action, that kind of convinces people to do something. When choosing your content pillar specifically, ask yourself, what would my audience enjoy consuming? Would they enjoy consuming this topic? So if you're looking at creating a pillars around education, and you are, for example, a mental health charity and you specialize in some of the mental health illnesses and some of the troubles that people might struggle with, you can create obviously the education around individual pillars. It could be then bringing more of the physiology into one of the pillars. It could more be then looking more at the circumstances in people's lives, so work related, school related, family related. So you can start thinking of the pillars from a perspective really of what you do, what you deliver, how you help, and what people need to know about that. Again, if you want to understand a little bit more to what content pillars are, we do have a little bit of a vocabulary here. But the point is, what would fit in your content pillars? What would be your inspirational content? Would it be FAQs, testimonials, case studies? Would it be asking questions, using your products and services and skills with call to actions? Would it be behind the scenes? What is it? So content pillars can mean a lot of things, and you can use a lot of that in your content. So think about, again, your content from a perspective. So what educational content are we going to create? What entertaining, inspiring content are we going to create? What engaging content that really draws people in and gets them conversing with us? What do we create? How do we then convince people to do what we want them to do? Be it to, reach out for help, reach out to help us, give us some money because we're fundraising, we're crowdfunding, to sign up to our newsletter so you get up-to-date information. So start thinking about what would fit into your content pillars. You also then want to make a decision on the primary format, which is often dictated by which platform you decide to go with. So will it be video animation style? Will it be more audio style? Will it be just pure text and really focusing on the written word and getting message across in a simple text-based format? Or do you have the skills? Do you have the desire? Do you have the preference, and is the platform dictating that you need at least some static visuals like photos and graphics? For example, all of these slides have been designed in Canva, and I think that Canva is a fantastic platform for charities because it can do quite a lot. And previously I have done sessions looking into Canva a lot more in detail. So I can again provide the links to some of the walkthroughs. The good thing about Canva is that for charities, you can get their professional, their pro paid package for free if you reach out. which is really helpful because that means that you get a lot more elements, meaning these bubbles and graphics and tools. You get a lot more pictures and stock videos, already templates. Canva is not only for graphic design, meaning for your social media posts, for your blog posts, for your presentations, but it also can do very good video editing. So if you're looking for a video editing software, then you might be also wanting to consider Canva because it can do quite a lot of the basic editing of videos that anyone and everyone could ever need. Yeah, Susan, absolutely. Canva is excellent and a really easy way to shape and size social media posts and photos. You can do so much with Canva. Obviously, it can be at first overwhelming, but you can resize your designs to fit individual social media platforms. They have prepared templates and sizes. Whenever there is a big event, there is Christmas, there is Halloween, Thanksgiving, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Pride. They have wonderful templates that help you to see what kind of messages you might be wanting to put around. There are tools that help you to set up your brand colors, your brand fonts, your brand visuals, so that it's easy to implement it and have everything looking and feeling on brand. So I would highly recommend, if you are not using Canva yet, if you are looking to step up your visual game and you're looking for ways to create better, more eye-catching, more on-brand visuals for social media, then Canva is brilliant. Hannah is asking, can you make animated videos in Canva? So you can make animated videos to a point, meaning you can get the text to animate. So you can create like presentation slideshow in a way with text, and you can animate the text on it. You can add animated elements, meaning you can have some, I don't know, the mountains could be moving in the back, the flag could be moving in the back. I could have a person coming or kind of moving. So you can, to a point, create animations in Canva. You can add some B-roll, some videos behind that. You can look what videos and animations they do have available in their stockpile. What you cannot do is, I would say, custom-made animations when, for example, you see the hand drawing kind of animation where someone is drawing on a whiteboard and it's drawing people and stuff like that. That's a specific software. Or if you're looking for complex, unique movements of elements that do interact with each other, that would be probably custom animation. But if you're looking for a simple, where the elements will be moving, where the text will be moving, and where you can add some sprinkles to the top and you can have it very visually appealing, then yes, Canva can do that. So I would say have a look, Hannah, on Canva and give it a try, because I think if you really want to make some of your case studies a little bit more enticing in a way that they move, that the picture of the person comes in and goes, that their bio comes in and goes, that a couple of bullet points maybe show up, that you have a graph that I think you can even get an animation to the graph, so you can figure out with elements like lines and arrows, you can figure out how to actually animate a graph, if that's what you would like, with pie charts and things. So I think Canva has a lot of potential to be used for charity. So have a look. If you have any questions, get in touch. I will obviously share my details later on and we can have a look at it together. So once you know kind of what content you're going to be creating and where, you do want to choose your primary content distribution channel, be it organic social media, paid social media, email marketing, PR, SEO, others. It's kind of a repetition of focus on one thing at a time. But how about we start with getting a little bit of a content plan for you together for the next 12 months. I do love working with 12 months or annual plans because it really helps to get good process in place and to feel that you are in control and you're on top of your content, your marketing throughout the year. But even for now, you could be doing it for the next 2 quarters. You could be looking from between now till the end of the year. And you want to start by looking at some of the big upcoming events that no matter what, you will have to adjust and you will have to create some content to reflect that. Meaning, if there are any holidays and seasons coming, very likely you will want to create different content when it comes to winter than you will be creating now during summer. When it comes to some bank holidays or when it comes to some big, obviously, international global things like Christmas, like New Year, it could be Halloween, it could be Black Friday, stuff like that. You will be thinking of different content, there will be different connotations, there will be different perspectives. The needs and preferences of your audience will change, their desires, the things that they pay attention to will change. You want to keep an eye on any important dates and awareness days. There is pretty much an awareness day, week, or month for anything and everything. Some of them bigger, some of them are obscure, but they're a good thing to keep an eye and infuse your calendar with something that is international, that is celebrated across the board. So it helps you align your messages with what's going on in the world and be more seen by people talking and interested in certain topics. It might be relevant for you to keep an eye on certain new releases, TV, music, book, research. It could be sporting events, might be relevant, could be anything that is either your industry specific, it could be conferences, it could be laws, it could be funding opportunities or funding opportunities being taken away. And also you want to think of your business, your organization, your team, think of any milestones, birthdays, any anniversaries, if you plan to do any events. You want to sit down and have a look at, I would say, the next 12 months or at least the next 6 months and put in the big chunks first. Say, what campaigns are we doing for Christmas? Are we doing for something for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, back to school? Is there an awareness day in this period that would be relevant for us? Do we run an event? Do we participate in an event? Is there an industry event that we want to be affiliated with? And it helps you start mapping out your content. And around this content, you can then place your individual rocks, your own individual content pillars, and fill the gaps. But looking at the content from a 12-month or at least quarterly perspective helps you then be consistent, have more of a pattern of we can show up regularly, consistently with the same amount of content on a weekly basis. That's not overwhelming. We know what's going on and we can plan for events. So especially if you are planning a launch, if you're planning an event, if you are starting a new group program or anything that has a deadline or has a specific date, you do want to give yourself a good 8 weeks of preparation and pre-promotion, because your 8 weeks usually will be shortened to 6 weeks. Let's be honest, even if we plan for 8 weeks, we will not get our ducks in a row for 6 weeks. And out of those 6 weeks, we can really dedicate to 4 weeks. And you definitely want at least 4 weeks for any big event, big milestone, to have on a weekly basis 1 or 2 posts to be able to promote it from multiple aspects and to get people a chance to really see and interact with your content. If you still feel stuck on content ideas and you feel, well, okay, but what educational content should we be creating? Like, what specifically should we talk about? And you still can't think of anything. There are a couple of places that can help. One of them is a website called Answer the Public, where you can type a keyword on a phrase, and it will give you a very beautifully designed visual map of all the real questions that people have been asking Google around your topic. So for example, if you put the word coffee, It will start segmenting those questions to where do you get the best coffee, where do you find the best coffee making machine, what is coffee, what is this type of coffee, how do you make coffee, how do you drink coffee, is coffee good for you, is coffee good, and you will start seeing very specific questions people do type to Google, which means that there is a desire, there is a need, there is a question in people's minds around this keyword or a phrase. You can use Google suggestions to something similar. When you go to Google and you start typing something, you see that Google will create a drop-down list in which it will start suggesting, did you mean this? Did you mean this? Did you mean this? Which again, it collates all the data from all the searches that people have already been making on Google. And when you finish your search and you get the Google results, at the top or at the bottom, you will get Google suggestions, which says people also searched for, which again, it gives you a good phrase. It gives you a couple of keywords that help you then see, well, if people have searched for this, they also search for this. We have one blog post topic, another blog post topic. You can also, if you're looking specifically for blog post ideas or social media post ideas, you can use HubSpot Blog Ideas Generator. It's a free website where, again, you input, I think, 5 keywords, and it will give you a list of 5 to 10 ideas for blog posts, and you can see whether any of that sparks an interest. Another, it's a Google extension or Chrome extension. It's Keywords Everywhere, which again takes Google search data and shows you on anywhere on internet. It will give you like keyword numbers, results. So it will show you if you watch YouTube video, if you visit a website, if you do a Google search, it will again show you what are the keywords that people have searched for this result to show up, which again gives you an insight into what people need, what people want to know, what people are searching for. And I will guarantee that you do have plenty of ideas of your own, but maybe you don't have them when you sit down on Monday morning on your desk, open a blank page or your scheduler. You might not have those ideas in the moment, but I guarantee that you have some interesting content ideas. So I recommend to having like a brain dump drawer. For me, it's usually like a physical notepad where I write things down, but it's also mobile, like notes where I write random things. Whenever I screenshot something, I write a note. You can use audio notes, which you can use some text to speech to text translators, transcribing software like Otter, where you could be talking to yourself and you can already be capturing some materials for your blog post. So even if you have a team meeting when you potentially work with a client and it is with their consent and their awareness, you could be capturing that in a written form and then snap some of the parts, some of the paragraphs, quickly edit them and have that as a potential social media post or blog post, have it ready.
Hi, Lenka.
Hey.
One of the things I was wondering is, so like we have LinkedIn at the moment. Well, we have a LinkedIn. We claimed it because obviously, like some people had like said that's where they work. So we've like claimed it, but it's completely like we don't post it or we don't use it. Is it better to, like, if we don't have time to put it, if we're going to use Instagram as our main thing but we don't have time to do LinkedIn, is it fine just to leave it like that, or does it make us look bad? Is it better to sort of not have it rather than have one that's maybe dormant?
I would definitely say that this is kind of part of the audit when you might discover that there are profiles that have not been maintained for a while, that you don't have the time and energy, you don't know who set it up, you don't have access to them. If you don't have access to them, try to take them down, try to figure out who has the access and take them down. If you have access, you have 2 options. You can simply go ahead and delete the account and pretend like it's never existed. But also people still might be searching for you. There might be people on LinkedIn typing the organization in. So what I usually recommend is making a clear statement that you do not maintain this platform and send people to where you want them. So what I would usually do with my clients, we would choose the primary platform, be it Instagram, and on every other channel that they have ever used before, we will update the cover image, the banner, and we will pin a post to the top that says, still have it nice and optimized, have the links to the website, have the bio, have it all looking pretty, and have it looking on brand. But then write a post that says, we don't regularly check and maintain Facebook, but if you want to have a chat with us and see what we're up to, well, here's a link to our Instagram. We're active on there. Or maybe you want to send them to a website to be like, we might be looking for some helpful resources. Well, go to our website. But I would say keep it existing. Don't necessarily maintain it, or use it maybe as a bulletin board where, yes, once a month, once a quarter, you might have a news piece that you're like, well, actually, we could just in 5 minutes put something out there, but have something that clearly states that you're not monitoring this platform. So if people really want to speak with you and interact with you, to go wherever they need to go.
That's really useful. Thank you so much.
So for the Canva question, how do charity applies? I have shared a link that says Canva for non-for-profits that kind of walks you through what you're gonna get. Obviously, it talks a little bit about Canva. There is a button that says apply for Canva for non-profits. So it walks you through the process of filling out the application form. Then there will review the eligibility, and you will get an email with confirmation. You do have a lot more resources in there, and they do then have a list of what the eligibility criteria might be. I don't know how long it takes. I think it pretty much depends on their teams. I'm not a charity, so I haven't done it for myself or any of my clients. But this link, the Canva for nonprofits, should be definitely helpful.
There's a lot you've gone through, a massive amount to think about. So thanks very much for all of that. Can I just have, I'm struggling to increase followers on Instagram. I'm fine on Facebook, where it's easy to share stuff to groups and other places, but I'm missing the key golden nugget to how to increase Instagram followers. Can you give us a clue?
Definitely a tricky one. Instagram is, as I said, one of those that kind of is the most tricky to figure out because it changes quite a lot. On Instagram, you have a couple of how we call it discoverability features. One of them are hashtags. So people can follow hashtags, which means they can discover new accounts, new content based on certain hashtags. So doing a hashtag research using all the 30 hashtags that you can for each post, and having, from the biggest hashtags that have millions of content post related to some very niche specific that might have a couple tens and hundreds, gives you a scale of potential being discovered. Then it is about exploring different types of content to maximize your reach within your audience, which then the better the posts perform organically, the more reach and impressions they get, the more they will also be promoted in the explore feed and in places outside of the main timeline. So obviously try to explore with things like carousel posts or reels. Obviously Instagram is pushing reels very much. So if you have an idea and desire and opportunity to create reels are getting so much attention. And again, if you start creating reels, you get more reach, you get more views. Another thing is focus on increasing engagement. The more you get people commenting and having conversations in comments, and the more they will then potentially bring their friends and colleagues and other people, because they're like, well, you might have an opinion, or this might be of an interest for you, or you might share something. So people then might start tagging more people in the comments. And last, I would say use stories. If you are currently, because lots of people do use Instagram purely by posting posts in the grid, by sharing the timeline post. But Instagram has multiple discoverability sections, and one of them, again, is stories. And especially now on stories, you have one of those global stickers that people create a random question, and you can then join the conversation and create a story around it. Like for me, I often see things like share the latest photo of nature, share your desk setup, share your cat dog. So you need to look for the ones that obviously are relevant for you. But by increasing and showing up in stories on a regular basis, you have two algorithms that could play into your advantage.
Okay, great. Thanks. A bit more work needed then.
Instagram, unfortunately, always means a lot more work. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.